Hello there, and welcome. So if you're an architect practicing in Goa, you know the feeling all too well. A single line of feedback from the Town and Country Planning Department, the TCP, can send your entire project right back to the drawing board for weeks. Well, today, we're going to tackle one of the most common and, frankly, most costly reasons for these rejections. Does this sound familiar to you? You spent weeks, maybe months, meticulously designing a project. You followed what you thought were the right drawings, you submit your plans, only to get them bounced back with an objection that seems to come completely out of left field. Trust me, you are not alone, and the reason is often a very simple misunderstanding of just two key words. Take a look at this. This right here, it's a real-world example of a TCP objection notice. It's so frustrating, it's definitely costly, and it all comes down to the critical difference between an appendix and an annexure in the Goa Land Development and Building Construction Regulations. All right, let's break this down. So here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to uncover that hidden hurdle that trips up so many architects. Then, we'll nail down the core difference between an appendix and an annexure. After that, we'll look at some very real rejection scenarios, and we'll wrap up with a winning strategy to help get your plans approved the first time around.
You know, this isn't just about getting the words right, it's about understanding the law. Confusing these two terms is, without a doubt, one of the fastest ways to get your plans rejected by the TCP. And what does that mean? It means costly project delays and, of course, very unhappy clients.
Okay, let's get right to the heart of it. These two words, appendix and annexure, they are not interchangeable, not at all. They have completely different legal roles, and knowing that difference, well, that's the absolute key to a successful submission.
First up, let's talk about the appendix. The easiest way to think about an appendix is this. It is the law. It's an integral, legally binding part of the regulation itself. So whatever is written in here, we're talking parking standards, fire safety norms, minimum dimensions. It has the exact same legal force as the main clauses. It is non-negotiable. It is mandatory. Period.
And now, we have the annexure. And this is a whole different ballgame. An annexure is basically a supporting document. It's there for guidance, for clarification, maybe to provide a helpful illustration. You'll find things like sketches, sample forms, or example layouts in there. It helps you understand the regulation, but, and this is the key part, it is not the regulation itself.
Now this table really just lays it all out crystal clear. Just look at the legal status. Appendix is binding, annexure is just explanatory. Is it part of the regulation? A clear yes for the appendix and a no for the annexure. Is it mandatory? Absolutely yes for the appendix and usually no for the annexure. So, the crucial takeaway here is this. One is your rulebook and the other is just a guidebook.
Okay, so theory is one thing, but let's see how this actually plays out in the real world, shall we? We're going to walk through some classic TCP objections that, believe me, happen every single day because of this exact confusion.
Okay, here's a super common one. An architect is designing, let's say, a G+5 residential building. They're flipping through the regulations and see a helpful little sketch in an annexure showing a 1.20 meter wide staircase. Looks good, right? So they follow it, thinking they're totally compliant. But then
they get this exact objection. So why did this happen? It's because that annexure sketch was just an illustration, a suggestion. The legally binding appendix on fire and life safety, which is the actual law, clearly mandates a minimum width of 1.50 meters for a building of that size. Remember, the appendix will always override the annexure. All right, let's move on to our next scenario. Parking layouts. So an annexure might have this really neat diagram showing a parking layout with bays measuring 2.3 by 4.5 meters. I mean, it looks official, it's right there in the document, so the architect just copies it directly into their plans. Seems logical, right?
And boom, another rejection. Why? Because the annexure diagram is not dimensional permission. The legally binding appendix on parking standards spells it out. The minimum car parking size is 2.5 by 5.0 meters. The TCP doesn't care about a pretty sketch. They only enforce the hard numbers in the appendix.
Let's look at one more critical example, accessibility ramps. An architect designs a ramp that visually matches a sketch they found in an annexure. It looks right, it feels right, but in making it look like the picture, the actual gradient of the ramp ends up being 1 in 8.
And here it comes, the inevitable objection. Even if the ramp looks identical to the drawing, its 1 to 8 gradient violates the strict, legally enforceable maximum of 1 to 12 that's specified in the appendix for barrier-free access. The numeric value, the math in the appendix, is the only thing that actually matters here.
Seeing these patterns can be really frustrating, but the good news is that avoiding them is actually pretty simple once you know the rule. So, let's get into the winning strategy.
This is it. This is the key. This single line appears in the vast majority of objections related to this topic. You should internalize it, write it down, put it on a sticky note on your monitor. This phrase is the TCP telling you exactly how they read the regulations. Annexure is illustrative, appendix is mandatory.
And this slide just brilliantly simplifies it all down. If you take away only one single thing from this entire explainer, please let it be this. The appendix is the law. The annex is just an explanation of that law. You must always design to the law, not the explanation.
So here's your actionable pro tip. This is what you can do in your very next submission. When you're writing your notes, your parking statements, your fire calculations, you need to explicitly state your compliance. Always write, designed as per appendix, and then cite the specific clause number. And please, never, ever justify a design decision by writing as per annexure drawing. That is a massive red flag for any scrutinizing officer.
And that just about brings us to the end. The power to avoid these rejections is now in your hands. So, I'll leave you with this question. Thinking about the project that's on your desk right now, which appendix, whether it's for parking, fire safety, or accessibility, are you going to go back and double-check to make sure your design isn't just illustrative, but that it's 100% legally compliant?